Hi, welcome to another episode of Soul Science. And we appreciate you being here and participating in this version of Soul Science. And so I'm Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, and this is Pamela, and she will introduce a topic for today's conversation.
Okay, well, today's topic of conversation is about letting go and letting the divine or your higher personal guidance be able to help you with everything in your life, which is pretty wonderful because a lot of times we feel like we're just struggling to force and make things to happen. And wow, it is not satisfying. So if you're not feeling joy and happiness in your life on a regular basis, you're not connected to these easy laws that start flowing in to be able to be supportive of everything that you desire to have happen in your life. And that joy is your recognition that you're connected with
Right.
those higher powers.
Yeah, and I think one of the other podcasts, Floating Your Boat Down the Stream of Life, or whatever we called it, if you haven't watched that, go back and look at it because it talks about this letting go process. And as a scientist, I'm used to, looking at all the details, picking things apart. You ask me what time it is, and I'll tell you how to build a watch. I mean, might sound pretty funny, but when it comes to getting in the receptive zone and letting go and letting things happen, that has not been easy for me to do. And even when I know I'm trying to do it intentionally, it's not easy. And a lot of people have that kind of problem, don't they?
They do. And Jeff, not that I'm trying to put labels on you and I, but we can tend to be perfectionistic kind of people. I don't know.
Really?
What do you think?
I'll pay more attention.
And sometimes with that, it's like it's never like quite enough. Let's tweak it a little more. Let's tweak it a little more. And it kind of has things come undone for me. I'm going to give you an example of that where I finally, after I finished hitting my head against the wall enough times, because we're real people. We're real people. All right. I just have learned these things, and it's up to me if I'd like to employ them or not. And so I'm going to give you an example. All right. So I was all hippy skippy about building this wonderful retreat center in the mountains. I was so excited. And I know it's my last home that I'm going to be building. So of course you'd like to have it perfect. Right there, I just stuck a fork in my balloon. And so I looked at all these plans because I love to draw up plans and I like to have secret passageways and hiding places and these wonderful places for just to kind of dream and to meditate in and just to have these wonderful events within my homes and within my properties as well. And that's documented in some of the other homes that I've built and penthouses and stuff in Mexico and stuff that we had on the beach. And yeah, they all had those elements of romanticism and intrigue within them. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it with this one too. So here I am. I'm looking and looking and looking just to kind of get maybe some elevation things. And there are thousands of plans on the internet. And I popped up this first plan, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, does that ever feel perfect? So wonderful for the space that we're going to be building it in the mountains. It was just the feeling had the most wonderful feeling to it. Like, the kitchen's in the wrong place. Oh, this isn't in the right place. Oh no. So I started to tweak it, and I'm like, oh, forget it. I'll find another one. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked, and finally I said, the heck with all of this, I'll just start drawing up plans. I drew up all these plans. I worked with these drafts people, and they just could not get it because of all these secret passageways and stuff I had. For me, it's like child's play. It was so easy to draw it up, but it would be nice for them to have it on something so that they could have it for the people building it actually to take the right specs off. So after about a year of this, I finally said, you know what? I'm trying to force and make this to happen. It's not coming together. It is not happening. This is not going anywhere. So I finally let go and let the divine take over. I said, can you help me out of this ditch, please? I have dug a deep hole and threw the shovel in with me, and I'm trying to claw my way out of it. I'm just like, can you just give me the ladder? I'll just climb out. And
Yeah.
I've given it up, okay?
How many of us have been in this situation? Husband, wife, significant other, and you're going to rearrange the furniture or remodel the bathroom, or, some of these things. It's like, no, move it over here. Well, I liked it better back over there, you know. And so rather than getting into that space where we are receiving the divine information and just having to do it once, we've got to move the furniture 10 times and
Yeah,
then you put it right back where it was in the beginning, right?
right, right. Okay, Jeff, I love that example. You're so amazing. I love our synergy with each other because then I went back to divine and I said, okay, I'm going to open my computer. I would like for you to be able to just show me the elevation that I would love to have happen. It doesn't have to be the exact elevation because I know when I start drawing up the plans, it might be a little different. But I would just love that, just basic, that feeling. I open up the plans. The first plan that pops up is the first plan that I saw the original time out of all the thousands of things. Like, okay, I get it. That was the one I was supposed
And
to
it
have.
just felt right,
It
right?
felt
It
right.
just felt right. And so
Yeah,
that's why you were drawn to that plan,
it was,
and that I think that's the magic, the amazing part about this. If
yeah,
we will open ourselves up, if we will allow that to happen, and then we will pay attention to it, that it just feels right. Whereas before you're going through plan after plan after plan, and there's always something, well, this one's not quite right. But when you allowed the divine and you put the intention out there, you put the request out there, and you told him exactly what it is that you wanted, and then it happened. But how did you know? How did you know when you found that first one? What did it feel like?
it was the feeling. Yeah, every cell in my body just resonated this joy, this happiness, this tickle inside, this warmth. And the same thing happened when I saw it the second time. Now, it's not that we're building that house, because then I take grid paper, and within 24 hours, I had that house entirely developed and designed. Within 24 hours, it was done. It's a walkout basement, it's a main floor, and it's an attic with a little sub attic above, and these wonderful little passageways and wonderful places inside and out of it. But it was done within 24 hours. That's how you know you're in the flow. And it was so much fun. Then I give it to my drafts person, and they're like, huh? And he couldn't get it. He just couldn't see it because I see everything finished and with movement and already completed with furniture and people utilizing it and everything. And so understanding that that's not what he's seeing because it's not his house, it's mine, right? So I'm giving the download. I said, hey, Ben, come and meet with me. And I'm going to put my arm around this situation with you, and we're going to have some fun. So he started then, like this, drawing it all up because we were together and he was synergistically getting this connection as well. And he started getting like
He
$1 million jobs.
Yeah, so he was in the flow of that energy because you invited him in. So when people are going through this experience of trying to do something and they know they're not in the flow, what should they do to stop and get in the flow?
Be around other people who are in the flow. It's contagious. It is contagious. And then is I don't create weak relationships. I refuse to do that. But when the divine starts flowing through me, then it connects to them. It's like the best kind of flu you could ever get. I mean, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. And then they start connecting and start getting that feeling, that confidence within them. And then they start connecting to other people and it starts spreading like this wonderful ripple effect. So it's not me doing it, it's them allowing the divine to flow into them because it's something that they're interested in, they're open, they're curious, they're receptive, and then they start having it. So it's not that you're just leaning on one person because that's not okay. What if I kick the bucket and they're saying, oh crap, now who do I lean on? No, 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 that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a loving to create these wonderful communities of this creative ability and connection to a divine source that is so much bigger than I am. Yeah.
Right. I remember watching a video not too long ago about the power of community. And they talk about this very thing that you're talking about, that the power within a community when people are interacting with one another. And so when we use that word power, it could be anywhere on that spectrum. And so you can be around people who are not in a high vibration, but are in a low vibration. And so you're connected and you're beginning to attract maybe things and situations into your life that you don't want to have happen, or you would prefer to have something different happen. And so, like you say, it's about uh, having those people around you that are in a similar vibration, that are like-minded. And so I think that's an important point to take a look at here.
And desiring to uplift one another mutually,
Right,
and
right,
really taking that responsibility. What are our conversations about? How are we feeling during these conversations? If you're not feeling so great, sometimes because we're all human, maybe we're not, like one day you and I were looking at each other
right.
and saying, this ain't the day, bud.
Yeah,
For
we
either
just
one of
didn't
us.
get in sync there, and it didn't feel right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
in that moment, we, particularly you, had enough wisdom to say, "Look, this isn't the day," and I knew that, and it's like, okay, well, let's do this a different day. And I don't know if it was the next day or the day after that, but as soon as we got back on, boom, we were right in the
We
zone.
were fine.
Yeah,
I adore you, Jeff. I'm so grateful for you in my life because I mean, and I know, and I really feel like the audience understands when they see us that we're genuine. We truly enjoy being with each other, but I love our creative environment that's
right,
formed when we're together. It's so wonderful, so uplifting. The other stuff, when you're feeling those lower vibrations that you can start picking up from other people, because we're all human, right? We all have our good days and we have our off days. That can be part of forming negative quantum entanglements. And as soon as you just feel like, hey, this isn't going in the direction I'd like, you just let go. No judgments, no put downs, no name calling, no like, you just say, you know what, maybe we could use a little time out. That's it.
yeah.
Shift,
You
go on.
talked about quantum entanglement. I want to talk about that for just a second here. When we look at the electromagnetic center around the heart, and it's 60 times greater than the electromagnetic center around the brain. But the important thing here is that around the heart, there are over 60, or excuse me, 4,000 neurites, and a neurite is like a neuron in the brain. So when
Right,
we are creating this field around ourselves, and science has determined that it can be anywhere from 3 to 12 feet, and our field is vibrating at a particular rate. And so when we come in contact with somebody else, when I do a brain map with somebody, I'll do that a lot. We'll put the cap on their head and I'll say, now watch this. And I'll walk behind them and my energy field will interact with their energy field. And then, the frequencies are just going all over the place until it gets back into the rhythm that it needs to, you know. And so we are interacting with people all the time, and the question is, what is our vibration and how are we interacting? So each of us is responsible for our own vibration. So, like when we just weren't in sync for whatever reason, and we recognize that it was each of our responsibility to get ourselves back to vibrating at that higher level where it felt better and so forth.
right,
And for whatever reason, if those negative frequencies were there, or we're around negative people, or there's too much chaos going on around us, to be aware of those kinds of things and then take action on them, do something, make a decision about it.
right. And the cool thing is that we're not on the committee or responsible for shifting other people's vibrations. It's totally in every individual's cue for their personal happiness or unhappiness. So to look for somebody outside of yourself to blame or to fix like the reason for why you're not having a jiggy good day is useless,
Right.
because really you are the one in that position And so you're the one in charge of your happiness, and you're the one in charge of your unhappiness, which is great, which means you can change it at any time. You can shift it. You can just pivot and be able to start focusing on, well, why would I really love to see happen instead? Because right now I'm not feeling like how I would really choose to feel. And I'm going to allow myself to deliberately choose to feel better, choose to
Yeah,
feel more uplifted.
that's a really, really important point that sometimes we can habituate or get into a habit of feeling a certain way or thinking a certain way or those kinds of things. So we may wake up in the morning and we're not in the zone. And so then we just kind of go through our day and we end up having situations and circumstances occur
Yeah.
because we are creating by default instead of deliberately like we're talking about here. So I think that's really, really important that we are responsible for if we're not vibrating where we want to be. Well, read a book, go for a walk, listen to some music, whatever it is that makes you feel good so that you can get
Right.
into that higher vibration, but do something about it.
Right. Go back to bed. Take a
Yeah,
nap.
take a nap.
Make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you're nourished. You
Right,
know, I'm using four-letter words. Make. Allow yourself to be hydrated and nourished. And perhaps it's because you even had some issues with some uh, not sleeping well that night and restoring
right.
your body. There can be just all these things, but a lot of times people try to look around and blame somebody for it.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's
we're looking for somebody else to fix it for us, like you
mhm,
said, and we're not
no,
realizing it may be because of my diet, because of my sleep, because I'm lacking in hydration, you know,
right.
uh, those things. So we need to do whatever we need to do to change that.
Right. So again, I really love that we have the ability to just go ahead and let the divine help us and not try to force anything. To be loving to ourselves and just start remembering when we did feel good, some of the things that brought us joy and happiness, and just in those memories of that just focusing on what you really do enjoy, what you love, how it felt. If you're feeling like you're getting out of bed and you're not feeling so swell, you allow yourself to do some meditation and things to shift all of that, to start releasing from your body those feelings and putting in what you prefer instead, and let it anchor into your body and connect with the divine and get that day rolling to where you're out ahead of everything else, and practice some of that breathing techniques that we shared with you.
Right,
Because just that breathing technique, sometimes it's because you don't have enough oxygen. Maybe
right,
you're sleeping too shallow while you were sleeping, and you just need to reoxygenate yourself. And wow, I have had people actually access nirvana by just those breaths, by just taking those breaths that we taught you in an earlier podcast.
right. Now, one of the things when I was learning Tai Chi and Qigong, and breathing is such an important part of that. And indigenous people deal with the same thing with vibrations and breathing and so forth. So I think it's really important that we learn to regulate our breath and use some of these breathing techniques that we're putting out there for you. And so in those moments when you're not feeling the way that you should, is it my body? Is it my breathing? Is it my thinking? What is causing me to not vibrate in a place that I like to do? And then what will I do in this moment of time to get where I want to go?
Right. So no settling, no just trying to force that noodle up the hill with your nose, no bulldozing through anything. Just be loving and caring to yourself and allowing it to dial in. You can do it. You really can do it.
Exactly. I see by the old clock on the wall here, our time is up for this particular episode. So this has really been fun in trying to help people understand to let the divine be part of your life. Let the divine help you with the decisions that you make, that inner being, your soul source, however you want to identify it. But take
Right.
the time to learn these procedures. How do I meditate? So we've been throwing some things out in different podcasts on how to meditate and what to do, and make that part of your daily ritual and begin to cherish the fact that these things occur, and really you are in control of that if you'll use
Right.
it.
And they are the ones who desire to do your heavy lifting. They really are. They're willing to lift that load off your shoulders and help your life be magnificent. So if you find this uplifting yourself, do share it with others, because it might be exactly what they're looking for. And don't make the decision for them by not sharing. Let them make the decision, okay? And consider subscribing below so that you will always be included in these podcasts that have been created especially for your happiness and enjoyment. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, Jeff.
See you next time.